This video is only one part of an in-depth review, so check out the rest at thegoodride.com. Thanks for watching. Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie. Thanks for being here. This is the Rome Vice binding 2022. Next to it is the Cleaver. Then next to it is probably what I would say is the closest peer, the Katana. Then the Do or Die and the 390 Boss. I'll occasionally reference these guys, but this is mainly about the Vice. I rode this in a wide variety of conditions and with a wide variety of boards, more than I care to mention, but check down below in the actual body of the review. You'll see it there on thegoodride.com. To give you a short summary, I would say this Vice is just like the Katana, or Katana, however you say it. I'm getting real American here and saying Katana. However you pronounce it, it is a more budget-friendly Katana. And what that means is it's a very diverse binding that can work with a wide variety of boards, mainly because it has an adjustable ankle strap that you can tilt up like this to get more support, and bring down to get more of a mid-response kind of freestyle to mountain freestyle feel, or bring it all the way up to get a much more supportive kind of all mountain to free ride kind of feel. So it's a very diverse, very good binding, not too heavy, not too light. They really changed it up for 2022, and it's a very recommendable binding. It kind of has a little bit of the magic of the 390 and the Do or Die, but also has a little bit of the magic of the more responsive Cleaver and Katana at a reasonable price, 289 bucks I think at the time I'm doing this. So let's talk weight. All these bindings are 2 pounds with the discs and the screws in, how you'd normally use it. And that's pretty light. It's not ultra light and it's not heavy. It's just that kind of feel where you don't really feel it on your foot unless you're used to like a 1.6 pound per foot binding. But overall, very good weight without compromising any dampness. And I really like that. Now, when it comes to the Highback Flex, I love this Highback Flex. It's like a reverse mullet. It's, all party on the top, party in the front, and it's just all business on the bottom and response right here. So you got just this nice twist, a good give, and let's compare that to the Katana, which is similar. The Katana's just a touch stiffer. You look at the Do or Die here, much stiffer. Then you look at the Cleaver, even stiffer, kind of almost there with the Do or Die, but a touch stiffer. And then you look at this guy, no real give back and not much twist here with 390. So if you're like me, you either like a tweakable Highback or you have even featured calves like myself. These don't bite into my calves, and I really like that. With these, with the Highbacks rotated, no, the 390 and the Do or Die doesn't either, but I like this much better. Now, when it comes to flex underfoot and buttering, you have basically all foam on the bottom underfoot here, but I like that really the only contact with the board, like the only major contact, is this quasi mini disc. It's a little bigger than your standard mini disc, like the Union right here. You can see it here, but a good bit smaller than a full-size disc, so it allows really good flex underfoot. And check out this mini disc when I talk about stance with adjustability too. There's some pretty rad features there. But this really butters well. Then on top of that, you have no bar here. They call this an ASIM wrap, and one here. And they say it gives you a more surfy feel. That's a very loose, expansive term, but the way I see it, coming from a surfing background and riding a lot, I mean, that's basically all that's sent to me these days, is mainly like surf-oriented, directional tapered boards. And if you have a more surf-oriented stance, that means you're really directional, your legs are closer together, and you're just kind of putting a little more pressure inwards. And so that works really well because the inside has the wrap the outside doesn't. So that works really well that way. But it also works really well from a mountain freestyle to freestyle perspective. If you like to butter and play around and you like to get a little more leverage out towards the tip and tail, then this works really well too. It's subtle. You don't notice a massive difference if you're going like against like the 390 Boss or the Do or Die with their full wrap, but you do feel it. And I like that because it's almost a little more mountain freestyle than their full wrap freestyle bindings. When it comes to response, you have a bunch of different options as to how to set up the ankle strap to give you more response, and I really like that. It's just like the Katana and the Cleaver and the Black Label. They all have this little doohickey here where you can bring it up and have the ankle strap meet at a higher place on your ankle and give you much more support and response, or bring it down and have it sit much lower on your ankle and give you more freedom of movement and a much more smooth, less responsive feel. So it's all about personal preference. And if you, let's say, have a quiver of boards, some that are demanding, need a lot of response, you can bring it up for that day, then put this on a, let's say, a mountain freestyle board like the Roam Agent or something like that, bring it down a little bit to middle or low, and just get something that matches up with that board's turn initiation a lot better. And I really love that. It's almost as responsive as the Katana, and it's closer to the Cleaver than you would think. The Cleaver is definitely just a much more responsive binding, but at its highest setting versus the Cleaver at its highest setting, or the Black Label at its highest setting, which is also a very responsive binding, it's very good. And then with the 390 Boss and the Do or Die, you just have one setting. It's kind of close to these, but I really enjoyed the Vice, the Katana, the Cleaver, and I would probably love the Black Label for 2022 because it's lighter as well. Now, when it comes to shock absorption and dampness, it doesn't have the magic that the Cleaver and the Katana do with this EVA kind of like cool new foam that's like the Adidas tactical ADV boots. I think they call it Energy Boost from Adidas. It's not quite like that. You can see it's just regular old foam, but it's still very damp and it's just a shade behind, and I really like it. I think it also doesn't give as much flex underfoot as these, but it's close. Really damp, really shock absorbent binding. You notice a little difference when you get on the higher end bindings, but not by much. And it has the same kind of thing going on underneath as the DOD and the 390 Boss. Now, when it comes to boot support and ratchets, the boot support is amazing. So even though this sits much further out than most bindings are here or even inside here, like with Flux bindings, they have the strap mounted in here. You would think, being so far out, you would have less support, but the adjustability compensates for that. And so when you bring it all the way up, you have exceptional support. Your ankle feels really locked in and supported. Then if you bring it down, you can get a little more freedom of movement. And this wider point actually works to your advantage because it gives you a little bit more tweakability, a little bit more freedom of movement, and that's really cool. The toe strap, I used to really not like from Roam because this just would never stop stretching, but maybe it's new boots this year, or maybe they made some subtle tweaks to this toe strap, but this harder plastic around the outside held onto my boots, and it allowed me to crank it down to the point of discomfort if I wanted to, and it would actually stop at a certain point. Before, it just never stopped. You just kept cranking and it always felt kind of off. Now these hard straps at a certain point hit, and then this stretches out and conforms to your boot. I really like it this year. It might not be my favorite strap, but there's no complaints at all. And this ankle strap is nice and cush and supportive. And with that adjustability, that's just key. That just brings it over the top. Very good boot support if you want it. Now, when it comes to adjustability, all the Roam bindings have a really cool feature. There were years ago with Roam bindings where I was trying to adjust them. This was probably like 2011, 2010. And I'm just it's just sitting in my room screaming because I could just not get a screw back in after I moved it to match with my boot footprint. The metal bent wrong ways, all this stuff. But all these bindings are very adjustable now and easy to adjust. It never bothered me too much. I had a really good time dialing these out to my boot size. And when my boot is centered in the binding, I can center my boot in the board and I have good times. All the other adjustability is really cool. Just toolless. Great high back rotation, great forward lean, toolless, all that other stuff. It's just standard. Now, when it comes to stance width adjustability, here's a normal mini disc. You can see it's adjustable, and you can slide it in between the inserts pretty well. But look at this as a mini disc. This is how I'd like to see it. You really have some stance width diversity here, and because you can center your boot in this binding, just about any boot you can center in here, you're centered on board and you can get the stance width you want. It's almost infinite, like Burton's channel system. Really like that. But here's the kicker, here's the cool part. You can set this up full-size disc if you want. So let's say you have setback inserts, or you have a board from a company that doesn't like mini discs. Some companies are a little weird about that. Most don't really care, but they've had issues like pros will just rip the mini discs out because they're going so big. For us average people, we don't even have to worry about that shit. You can mount this like a full-size disc. You don't have any adjustability, but at least you can do it. And that's a lot better than most mini discs out there. So really cool stance with adjustability, especially if you go mini disc, but it can be done full size and I love that. So overall, I think the Vice is a really special binding. I think it works with a wide variety of boards. It will enhance response from your boots too, depending on how you adjust it. And it's just a very good all-around binding that I highly recommend. And this might not be like super reliable, but I think Roam will back it. And to me, I don't know how it'll hold out for a whole season, 100-day season, or several 100-day seasons, but I'm sure they can replace the part if you ask for it. And it's so cool and so just unique that it's worth giving it a try. All our reviews are a best effort, objective opinion from an average rider's perspective. There's no brand oversight, and we're free to say whatever we want. We send back everything unless it's a favorite, then we ask to keep those or straight up buy them. Now, if you need advice, fill out the Me Harmony profile in the Contact Us section of the site. It's the only way I can help you properly. If you want to support us, and if what we reviewed appeals to you, it helps if you buy through our links. So, thanks for watching.